Hey, what's up? This is Evan from Stock Music Musician, and in this video I'm going to do a review of the Arturia KeyLab MkIII. I want to thank Arturia for sending me this demo copy. I'm in love with this. This has replaced my previous keyboard, which was a Native Instruments Complete Control. I like this a lot more, both in how it feels and plays and how it's more usable across a range of instruments. I also love the way the pads feel on this. And don't really have anything, well, I have a couple bad things to say, but we'll save those towards the end, and they're really small, minor nitpicky things. So if you're looking for a budget keyboard, this is something that I would highly recommend you looking at. The only caveat for you Reason users out there is that it does not have built-in DAW mapping for Reason, but if you're using Logic or Ableton or any of those other major DAWs, then this is a great tool to get quickly up and running. So let's first talk about what the features are of this beautiful little keyboard here, or MIDI controller. So you've got 49 keys, which is, for me, about the right size for my desk and for the complexity. I don't like anything smaller than this because you can't really do two-hand stuff, but I'm not playing classical music here. I don't need the full octave range. I can just do another take. So to me, this is a great size keyboard. And then if you look at the features, you've got both a bendable pitch wheel here, and then you've got a mod wheel, and this mod wheel they both feel really good. The pitch wheel returns to pitch very quickly, and the expression wheel, or the mod wheel, feels nice and smooth. The keys feel great. They've got a nice snappy bounce to them without having too much of a fake feel. They just feel right. I don't know. They're not fully weighted keys. I've had that before on a keyboard, and that was okay. But to me, this feels like what I want to play with. The right level of firmness and softness. It doesn't feel fake, but it also doesn't have the expense and the weight of a weighted keyboard. Then you've got 8 pads here, which are all really nice pads. Like, probably the sound of me hitting the pad is louder than what's going to be coming through there. But they have a nice weight to them. I've used pads that are too stiff, pads that are too soft. That was definitely like the Nectar line of keyboards were great, but the pads were just unplayable. And these feel just right, especially for drum stuff. The way the velocity is weighted is you're mostly coming towards, even with a little press, you're mostly coming towards the higher end of the velocity. So it feels balanced. They're not as good as the pads on like a machine, which I think are the best feeling pads out there. But for a keyboard, these are definitely the best pads that I've felt. Then if you've got DAW mapping, you've got 4 key features here. You've got save, quantize, undo, and redo. Some of the most used ones. And then obviously like the main transport controls here, repeat, forward, back. You've got the metronome. You can do tap tempo, stop, play, record, which it's a little feature, but I really like having the option to have record and play on my keyboard, especially if you're not sitting right near your computer or something. I'll also add just over here, you can choose which bank and which MIDI channel you're on. So with the drum pads, there's 2 banks, banks A and B, so it's basically 1 octave each, not quite an octave, but 8 per bank, so you can quickly get up and down the full 16 pads that you might expect on like an MPC, and then transpose an octave. Here you'll have the main controls, which are basically a nice screen that's totally readable, even in the daylight, maybe not in direct sunlight, but close enough. The main knob, which controls, depending on where you're at, different functions. Right now, I'm using it to scroll up and down and select different tracks because I'm in mixer mode. And if you could see on here, it actually says the name of each track, so you don't even need to look up. You've got a mute and a solo button, so if you want to do stuff on the fly, you can work with that. To switch between the modes, you just hit this button here, and this brings you to the spot where you can actually explore the individual instruments. Moving over, you've got the ability to hold a chord, or actually even a chord mode, which you can turn on with the press of a button. And you can combine it with hold mode if you want. If you go into chord mode further by holding down chord, you can choose from various different chord sets like sus2s, fifths, octaves, and let's just go major 11ths. And now we could turn on arpeggio mode. And with that, if you hold down, you can modify the arpeggio. There's different parameters here which you select with this scroll wheel. And if you press in, you can adjust them. So we've got 16th divisions. And then also you can choose what scale it is in if you want. Moving over here, you've got 9 faders and 9 knobs. And in mixer mode, what they do is they can control the volume of various channels. So you see right now I'm moving the profit volume, the noodle volume, and all of that. So now I'm off. And then over at the end, you're going to have even the stereo output. You also, the knobs on top will control panning. You see the profit lead there. Now you'll notice there's all these knobs and faders on the bottom of Analog Lab V, which comes, the light version of it comes with this keyboard. It's got like 6,000 incredible sounds for it. I mean, these are some of the best sounds out there. This is a must-get thing. It's pretty much worth the price of admission to begin with. But what makes it really cool is that all of these knobs and all of these faders are mapped to these parameters along the bottom of Analog Lab V. So you can easily control them with the twist of a button. I'm turning the leftmost button here, and the brightness knob is turning. I'm adjusting the leftmost fader. The filter envelope attack is modifying. You want to turn up the reverb? Cool. The one thing to note, though, to make this all work, to make that part work, is you have to hit program to switch between sort of mixer mode or DAW mode, which is called device kind of, and then to go to one where it actually is, I guess you could call it synth mode or something, and it will show the name of the synth actually flashing, or the preset. So that's what you need to do. I also want to note this keyboard is like touch sensitive, so you can get some really nice expression. There is only one insert in here, though, for a expression pedal or sustain pedal. So if you have both, you're probably not going to be able to plug them in. Maybe they have ones that are a twofer. I don't know. But I had an expression pedal and a sustain pedal, and basically I have to choose which one I want to use. So that is one minor pet peeve. I mean, I'm not, like I said again, I'm not a great piano player. I'd never really use them both at the same time, but it's a slight inconvenience. Another kind of thing that I don't like about this is that there's no power button on it. So basically it just stays on all the time, and it's got these lights which are cool, and they change. You noticed they were lighter earlier, now they're dark blue. They'll probably shift colors again, but they stay on. So if you're like in a small room or something, especially if you sleep in a dorm room or a studio, it might be annoying. You can always just unplug the USB down here to fix it, but why not just have a power button? Sometimes it is not possible to easily access the USB cord, or you may be in a situation where you you don't want that USB cable to fall down because, your desk isn't set up right. And if you unplug it, then it's going to get lost in the rat's nest down there. So that's my other pet peeve. One last one is that it is the only device I've had, the only instrument I've had that uses this type of USB cable. I think maybe this is USB-C here, which is pretty annoying because everything else is either just a regular USB-A, I think, or kind of that hexagonal USB cable. And so it's just like not as usable with all my other cables that I've already spent a lot of money on. And the cable that it comes with is very short. It's probably a 3-foot cable, maybe a 4-foot cable. So you may need to get a longer cable just right off the bat if you think you're going to be farther away when you want to play it. Overall, the build quality is really good. It's light. I could easily hold it with one hand, but at the same time, it feels very solid and stable, and I would feel okay gigging with this. It definitely feels stable and solid enough for that. The keys don't light up themselves, but I feel like with all the other lights going on, you're probably able to see this just fine on stage. And given the price point, I wouldn't be too worried about something terrible happening